Open Tabs. I'm Kaveh Taharian.
And I'm Hannah Hillam. And I'm
Hannah
delirious.
Hillam hanging out in the neighborhood with people getting paid to air fry outside her window.
Look, I meant leaf blower.
No, air fryer. It's okay, Hannah. You don't need to shy away from our audience and let them know how rich you are, that you just have people air frying left and right in the streets.
The leaves. They were air frying the leaves outside.
That's the best way to get rid of them. I didn't know if you knew this or not, but it's actually
an
excellent, environmentally friendly
just
way.
assume I don't know? Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to mansplain air frying leaves to you.
Good start. This is a good start. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Yeah.
Episode
73. How you feeling? I know you're a little bit under the weather, but now I know that there was something that invigorated you yesterday, which was the girls are fighting, as everyone's been saying. That gave you life again.
Abusive dads are fighting. Yeah, it was amazing.
He's not my dad. Not my father's.
It was really like watching their Twitter meltdown was truly like I felt deep shame for our country.
Embarrassment. Yeah, 100%.
Embarrassment, but man, was that good internet. Was that was some good internet. How's it going?
Fine. I'm just glad that you're feeling well enough to record.
I know. Me too.
So
I might wilt. I'll let you know if I start to wilt. I might wilt halfway through.
Worst case scenario, I'll put you into an air fryer and pick you back up and then recycle you into the bog, like we talked about for many years.
Good.
Air fry you into the bog. I don't even know if that's a thing.
Just air fry me.
Just air fry.
It's like the modern day rich person equivalent of what Jeffrey Dahmer did, which was like cut people up and cook them. But
he cooked them, huh? He didn't just eat them raw. He was like, I need a little bit.
Cooked him.
He was worried about.
He wasn't a psychopath. He cooked them. He wasn't a monster.
Air fry me.
Anyway, you're first this week.
Oh, right. I am first this week. Okay.
Yeah. What do you have?
So what do I got? Listen, you talked about what you were going to do last week when you said you were going to do all the letters over the course of Pride Month. So I knew you were going to be all like gay with your tab today, which is what I believe what you have lined up. So I thought I'd do something that, although isn't gay per se, it certainly could be in your mind anyway.
In mine?
Yeah, because you make everything for you is gay. Everything is always like, and then everyone kissing. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Look, I gotta say it.
Yeah. So initially I found this article on LAist, which does some fun local pieces sometimes. Do you remember the Istaverse is what they used to be? So there was an SFist, an LAist, a Gothamist. It was like the cities, which I used to love when I was in my 20s because they would post up where a bunch of open bars would be in every city.
Nice.
Which was the best. And then they got bankrupt and then they came back. And then now they're part of NPR. So they're still good. They still have good like local stuff. But so I still follow LAist. But anyway, I found this piece, this article there, and it led me to learn about today's tab. So cool. This is the story of how a turn of the century celebrity con man, which I know you already love.
Oh, yeah. I'm here for it.
All right. A turn of the century celebrity con man came to get a castle built in the desert.
Oh, wait. This sounds familiar.
Oh, do you know about this maybe?
I don't know this. I may have seen something about this. Okay. Tell me.
All right.
Wait, turn of the century, meaning like turn of the 1900s?
Correct.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Our story begins with a man named Walter Edward Perry Scott.
Whew. Okay.
A lot of names.
That's a lot of names.
It's a lot of names. Born and raised on a horse farm in Cynthiana, Kentucky in 1872, Walt was the youngest of 6 children, who I presume all of his older siblings being time-traveling Nikola Jokic's, who basically went back to live on that farm.
This is just Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
One of
just
his
picture
forms.
Nikola Jokic, yeah. This man does not look like Nikola Jokic, by the way, at all in the slightest.
Great.
Yeah.
Look.
But sometimes Hollywood casting is like, you got to make it a little bit taller, and like it's like the Velociraptors in Jurassic Parker. Jurassic Parker?
Jurassic
Parker.
Hi, my name is Jurassic Parker.
Like the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park, because the Velociraptors were tiny, but in the movie, Spielberg made them much taller and bigger to make them more menacing, much like J.D. Vance in My Nightmares now. But you could put, Jokic playing Walter Edward Perry Scott in the film version of this, just to make it, to give it a little more gravitas.
We're insane.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's grown up on the horse farm. Horses are like cool and everything, but I guess he eventually got bored of shoveling horse shit. So, unlike Nikola, as we know, who's happy to take care of them. But at age 11, Walt ran off to join his 2 older brothers. I think they were his oldest brothers, Warner and Bill, who were living in Nevada at the time. And Basically, by the way, this is already really funny. He's just like, at age 11, I left home to go work with my brothers.
The most
5 states away.
70s story I've ever heard. And I'm sure he went alone.
Oh, 100%. Like on the train, he's just like, well, Mom, I'm out of here. See you later.
And she's like, bye.
Bye. I have 17 more kids. Yeah, exactly.
We're 35 and empty nesters.
So he gets to Nevada, and his very first job was as a water boy for a survey party along the California-Nevada state line, a stone's throw from Death Valley.
Ooh.
And it was a slight upgrade, but carrying water for others wasn't what he had dreamt himself doing, either literally or metaphorically.
Yeah.
He had bigger ambitions. So, much like me in my 20s, 30s, and now into my 40s, he decided to change quote unquote careers, if you can even call them that.
Look, everybody's been doing it. It's just the way of things now.
What do they call it? They're like, it's the millennial hustle. You have to have like 6 jobs at once.
You have to like switch careers every 5 years.
Yeah. None of them make money, but I'm still here changing careers.
Are you about to change careers again?
I'm about to become a horse boy. That's true. I'm about to move out to Kentucky and start taking care of horses and shoveling shit.
You know what? Out of everybody, you're the last person I could see
taking care of horses.
That's just you. I think you'd. I don't know how long you'd last. Sorry, no offense, but
no, it's true. I'd be like, this smell. I'd smell one thing weird, and I'd be like, sorry,
out of here.
I'm gonna be homeless now. But then I couldn't be homeless because it would smell weird, and I would get really upset.
It's all smell based.
I would get arrested. Yeah, every smell just dictates so much of my life. It's really unfortunate.
It sucks.
Half the decisions I have to make in my life have to do with smells.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so he changes careers, and being raised in a horseboy family and having a penchant for drawing attention to himself, it should come as no surprise that Walt decided to make his way into the entertainment business.
Classic.
But he
wasn't. The closer you get to LA, the more likely you're like, maybe I should be in the entertainment.
The more the douche enters into the fray. The douche comes out.
The border, cross the border from Nevada into California.
Oh, I'm feeling more insufferable as each mile we pass closer towards our destination.
I think I'm going to write a screenplay.
Yeah, I think I'm a storyteller. But he wasn't quite a marquee name yet. Remember, he's still pretty young at this point. I think he's like in his teens.
11. Oh, okay.
He's slightly older than 11. I think he's like 15, 16 now.
I like the idea of an 11-year-old being like, I'm going to make it big in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm going to make it large. I'm going to be bigger than Shirley Temple, who won't come out for another 50 years. But I know who she is because my time-traveling brothers have told me all about it in the past.
Listen to all the other episodes, you guys.
Every other episode forever. But luck was smiling upon him as he was eventually able to get hired for none other than the Buffalo Bill.
What?
You know Buffalo Bill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he works for Buffalo Bill on his Traveling Wild West show.
Yeah, what?
Yep.
Are you kidding?
No.
Oh, I'm like starstruck right now.
Yeah, he was one of Bill's fall guys. Like he was a stunt rider.
Yeah.
He was paid to eat shit and make it look for the crowds of like all the howdy do-dats.
Uh-huh.
And
what?
Yeah. Which, by the way, this will almost certainly be a future tab for me because I'd never really like read that much into Buffalo Bill. You know, I'd sort of know about him like sort of as an ancillary character, but then I was like, what did he really do there? And I was like, oh, I didn't know that it got this crazy.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
His whole thing, everything he did, the traveling show.
Have you already read quite a lot about it? Should I not even bother?
I wouldn't say a lot about it. I'd say like maybe 10 to 12 years ago I went on a deep dive, but I vaguely remember like.
Okay. That's true. You also don't remember tabs that you read like 2 weeks ago. So maybe it's moot point. It doesn't even matter.
Look, I don't even know what happened yesterday.
Anyway, so even though Walt was still horsing around, it was a welcome departure from Kentucky as he traveled with Buffalo Bill across the country and Europe, presumably in the back of a van Bill used to lure senators' daughters into. Because that's a reference to a movie you've still never seen.
I've seen it.
But you don't remember it. You say that you hadn't seen it before. It's Silence of the Lambs.
Never mind. Sorry.
Oh, Senator, love the suit.
Oh, I got really defensive just now. I'm sorry. I have not seen it. You're right.
Buffalo Bill.
Despite the family connections.
He too put on a traveling road show in that film. That's what he does. He's actually just like, I'm going to put on Western shows for everybody to see across Europe and the United States.
Is that why he's called Buffalo Bill?
Buffalo Bill. No, anyway, that's another tab for another day. You have to watch the movie.
Okay.
Don't give it away. But he goes with Bill across Europe, across the States, making a living for himself. It's a decent gig. And he got to learn from literally a certified American icon.
Oh, yeah.
But like most entertainment jobs, he was never full time. It was seasonal. He wasn't doing it all year round. And, there's always like, we're going to 1099 you so no one will have to pay out insurance, or like, I can give you 35 hours, but not 40. It's the whole thing. It's a great system, everybody. We love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's worked for everybody.
It's great. People are happier than the happiest they've ever been. The most prosperous, the most financially stable.
Not scrounging for the next job. It's fine.
Listen, I wake up every morning and I'm like, how much better can it get? That's what we all think.
It can't.
Yeah, across the world. In between seasons, he'd head back to Death Valley, which he had now made his home. And, he'd pick up TaskRabbit jobs or drive Uber or whatever to like make ends meet. He's just doing these little gigs. Pitching
a screenplay while he drives people around in his Uber.
Yeah, he's like, hey, listen, this isn't my real job. I'm actually a screenwriter. So I use it. It's about, here's my screenplay. It's a story about a screenwriter who drives Uber to pay for his screenwriting job. What do you think? It's pretty interesting, right?
Drop me off here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Actually,
is this are you going to the bank? Is that what you're going to write me a check?
I'm going to walk across Death Valley.
You don't understand cinema, Hannah, okay? You don't understand. You don't even know what makes a good film. It's got cars.
Eat scorpions. Eat scorpions in the desert rather than listen to this.
Anyway, so he's like driving Uber. He's doing all this stuff. And his employment...
It's got cars?
It's got cars. Cars is like the most successful franchise film of Pixar, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yes it is.
Think of the merchandising opportunities
you can have everyone in America.
Yeah.
Dude, Lightning McQueen, fully MAGA. That dude voted for Trump.
I saw the first one and I don't remember it. I don't remember liking it.
Yeah, because it was like, ooh, we miss these little tiny towns. Which is, I get it. Like the freeways come in and get rid of all the Route 66 towns, but like,
oh, you know what? You're right. That's like the origins of like the Rust Belt kind of idea. You know what I do remember? Funny enough, is that I remember watching that and being like, stop complaining and just move and get another job somewhere. Like every goddamn immigrant has ever had to do for their entire lives in this country.
Sorry, your tiny racist town has been made obsolete. Maybe go figure it out, or like make some cool tourist. I don't know. It just felt very like, I love the 50s, and it's like,
you're right. I agree. It's very like MAGA kind of thing.
Weren't great.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, cool. People don't buy gas from your gas station anymore. Oh, great. My parents had to flee a country that was overthrown by religious dictators. Okay.
Right.
I think you'll be fine.
You can't afford gas anymore in your tiny Nevada town. This sounds classist, but it's not. I have to watch that movie constantly, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine if you've got a couple of little ones. Yeah. I know that every kid is obsessed with those movies.
My kid is obsessed with it. He loves just cars in general. And so then...
Anyway,
we watch it in Spanish. That's the difference.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
Didn't even know Owen Wilson was in it until I had to watch it in English. And I was like,
wow.
It's awful.
What is wow in Spanish?
Wow. But they spell it with a G. Wow.
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 Wow. I can't do Owen Wilson speaking Spanish.
No one can. Go
Not
on.
even Owen Wilson. You can't even do it.
I derailed this. I could talk about cars forever. And look, anyway. I'm not saying I'm against small town America and Route 66 and small businesses and things like that. I'm just saying let's stop glorifying the 50s like it was the peak of America.
Hot take Hannah over here.
Go on.
Anyway, what was I talking? What is this tab about?
I don't know, but in the Cars universe, 9/11 happened. We know
true.
that
in the Planes universe specifically.
Which means that there was a war in Iraq over oil. Like that's the thing. All of it happened. It's all still there. But they're cars.
Yeah.
Is oil their blood or their food? I don't know. Anyway, I could yell about cars forever and ever. Go on.
And you have. His employment was always uncertain, but his love for Death Valley never wavered. He folded it into his entire personality. Scotty did. His AOL IM handle was Death Valley _6969. Perhaps having learned a lesson or two about branding from Buffalo Bill, Walter decided to take on the moniker Death Valley Scotty as his official nickname.
Can I tell you something? When you said that, I was like, how would Cars 69? And then I realized we're not talking about cars. We're talking about human beings. I was picturing these guys as cars.
Listen,
I'm so tired.
you can do it. I think it's fine. These are cars. I'm just going to move forward with the image that these are all cars. The talking car that was from Kentucky changed his name. He started going by Death Valley Scotty. Mm-hmm. And they're trucking along. Life is a highway. They want it my way all night long.
Why would they go cow tipping? And instead of cows, it's, you know what it is? It's tractors. Are they lesser? Were they born lesser? Were they born to be enslaved by the cars?
Tired.
Okay, so Death Valley Scotty is his whole personality now.
That's his whole personality now. He rebrands much like Buffalo Bill. He learns from Buffalo Bill. He's like, I'm going to be Death Valley Scotty now. And
that's amazing.
He works for Buffalo Bill for about a decade or so.
Oh, wow.
Into his mid-20s. Until in around 1902, he gets in a big old spat with Buffalo Wild Wings, much like the girls are fighting was happening yesterday.
I want this to be true.
I don't actually know what they got in a fight about, or if he just was like, I'm too big for these britches, and he just leaves. I'm not quite clear on what that happens, but he decides to leave the show.
They're in the same britches, and he just steps out of the britches that they share.
He's got too big for me. I need to upgrade from being a sedan to an SUV, because I am now SUV Death Valley Scotty, which is what you need to drive around the desert in. Except he's an American-made SUV. He's not like a Land Rover or something, which is actually good for the desert. He's like a 2002 like Ford Escalade, or I'm sorry, Ford Escape or something. I don't know. What was the big one? Escalade was the other one.
I'm gonna die. Okay. Whoa.
He upgrades.
Great.
He's like, I'm out of here, and
I've got it under control.
And Death Valley Scotty's like, I quit. I'm going to go build my own Traveling Wild West show with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the Traveling Wild West show. And he went off on his own to begin a new life as
Death Valley Scotty,
a gold prospector.
Oh, what? What? Okay, hold on. Remind me what year this is, because this is like
1902.
The gold rush is very much over. What is he thinking?
Listen, there's still parts of the map that are blue that haven't been discovered yet.
What do they call it in Civ? The fog of war.
Fog of War. I think that's McNamara is the one who came up with Fog of War. But
they use it in Civ too.
They use it in Civ, yes. But yes, the Fog of War, they're like, no, there's still all these other. They did a pretty good job at finding all the gold, but there's all these little parts that people still need to figure out.
I love that episode.
Me too. It's the pilot, I think.
The first one. Yeah. It's an incredible pilot.
But no, he decides to be a gold prospector. Why? Because he was really good at mining, probably, right?
Probably not.
No, he was full of shit. He had traveled the United States and Europe and more than likely got a good sense of how gullible people could be.
Yep.
And so he comes up with his first big scam.
Yes, I forgot he was a con man.
Yeah, he's a con man. This is the birth of his conning. He starts doing conventions because he's conjoined. I don't know, whatever. All the other con jokes that we've made. One day, you're going to love this. Death Valley Scotty rode into Los Angeles. I should say drove into Los Angeles because he's a car. He drove his car body into Los Angeles holding a big bag of gold.
Where did he get that?
He claimed to have found a very prosperous gold mine out in Death Valley and that he was going to be rich.
That is insane. In Death Valley? Oh, I went gold mining in Death Valley.
Dude, listen. In 2025, you could go into Los Angeles and claim something like that because half the people on the west side are not willing to drive past the 405 and they would believe you.
Yeah, that's true. Dude, that's something about LA that stereotype is so true. You guys don't go anywhere.
Nobody does.
If someone's like, hey, can I meet you tonight? You're like, I don't care that we're friends. No.
Nope. I've done it to you. You're like, hey, do you want to drive over here while you're visiting? And I'm like, nope, I'm not doing that.
You were up here in the Bay Area where there's like 7 freeways and you're like, sorry. I'm like, it's a half-an-hour drive. Doesn't matter. Okay, go.
Listen.
Why would the cars have handles on them if people don't have there's no hands? Who's opening those car doors? And if you open them, are there
surgeons, obviously, because the cars are advanced and they don't need to be cut open every time. So they just built them into their bodies where you could open the door in case you need to change the inner workings of them. It's much more efficient. You don't have to pay for an anesthesiologist, which is often the highest cost of getting surgery.
Are you a surgeon?
You didn't expect that answer, did you?
No, your new job is a surgeon. You're pivoting to being a surgeon.
I'm a car surgeon. Yeah. I'm a car surgeon. I just open the door and close it.
Looks good. Looks good in here.
Looking good in here. Anyway, I have to get through this tab.
I'm sorry.
He shows up with a bag of gold. He shows up with don't apologize. He shows up with a bag of gold. Usually I'm the one that super derails. And so the fact that you're derailing, I'm getting excited and I want to continue derailing. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, this is my tab. I'm the one who has to be responsible here. That's why it's so much fun.
Good. Okay.
Please don't stop. He shows up with a bag of gold and he's like, we're all going to be rich. But hey, check it out. I kind of need some startup capital with all my mining and shit because I got to get like, one of those hats with the lights on them and like dynamite. Yeah. And I need like a Birkin bag to put all my gold into, like legit extra professional mining gear, like the really good stuff.
I need something to knock a few teeth out so I can be an actual prospector.
Exactly. And all these businessmen are kind of like, excuse me, what? What are you talking? At first they're like, what are you talking about? Are you insane? So then, he's a con man. He's really good. Yeah. So he hits him with the old, he turns, does this, like the over the shoulder where he turns on. He goes, we are standing on the edge of a paradigm shift, and I am looking for serious angel investors committed to disruption so we can create a minimum viable product for the early adopters in order to maximize market growth and become the first $1 trillion unicorn. Also, ChatGPT.
And they all just stone him in the street.
Yeah. And all the single brain.
What are you talking about, wizard?
No. All the single brain celled business bros were like, dog, that's some serious blue flame thinking. Sign me up.
You're not speaking English anymore.
No one does in Silicon Valley. But
no, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a bizarro world here.
It's its own special language. No, they're all impressed.
Angel investor.
He's a con man, right? So he's good at what he does. Yeah. So he's not enough to say like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll take your money. He says, are you sure? Because you guys got to super commit, alpha style. If you're willing to keep writing me endless checks, I'll put in the sweat equity without supervision because I'm Sigma like that. Lone wolf style. Unless you're not serious about wanting to change the world. And predictably, all the businessmen were just falling over themselves to give him money. They're like, oh no, I want to change the world. Here, take my money. Take my money. Take my money.
That is what it's like here.
Oh, it's exactly what it is. You just have to like have the right configuration of nonsense.
Mm-hmm. And people are extremely gullible. That's the thing. Yeah. People will, anyway.
It's been like that forever. As have con men.
You know why?
Because they're all cars.
Carmen.
Because they're anthropomorphic car people.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't smash his windows in right then and there.
Yeah, no.
Dude, I'm delirious. Please move on. I'm so sweaty, and it's because I think I'm still really sick.
We're going to push through it. I appreciate it.
I'm handling it.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Predictably, they all basically handed over the cash. And they all agreed to split the profits, and Death Valley Scotty was on his way.
Okay, so let me translate. So he was just like, look at all this money, this gold I have. You guys can get this much gold too if you give me some more money.
No, he's like, I found a bunch of gold in this mine. I need money so I can mine it out. So I'm looking. You can
then get the money.
Yes, and then we're gonna split the profits of all the gold that I get out of the
mine. Classic.
Except the mine is in Death Valley. It's not in LA. It's like, whatever. At that point, however long it took to get from LA to Death Valley.
In the most inhospitable, unworkable place on earth. Yeah.
But check it. I'll go do it. You can trust me. Yeah. I'll take care of it so you don't have to like sweat or get dirty or like leave the beach. And I'll bring you money back. That's all you have to do. They just basically like I'm losing money here, but I really love you and I want to help you.
But I like
you're my
you guys.
Friend.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
And they're like, great, of course. And Death Valley Scotty, right? Like I said, he's on his way. Not to the gold mines, of course, but instead to some of California and Nevada's finest hotels and saloons, going on what would become his legendary spending sprees.
Oh, so he's like, got money, I'm gonna go party.
Time to get drunk.
Here's the thing, he's a con man, but he's an idiot.
Oh yeah,
so dumb.
But apparently he's just like a lot of fun to hang out with. That's what they all said. They're like, he's really funny. He's like spins a good yarn. He's got like a lot of great stories. As long as you weren't trying to get like an ROI, he was the best. Especially if he's like on a bender. He's just like, like whatever. Martinis for everybody. Like I would have loved to hang out with this guy.
Imagine being in a saloon in 1902, hanging out with a car.
A drunk car. Is that drunk driving or is that just being drunk?
Just being drunk.
Yeah. Is a drunk if a car is drunk in the car's universe and tries to drive home, is that them walking home and doing the responsible thing because they're a car? Or do they get pulled over for a DUI? How does that work?
Here's the thing. There's a part in Cars where they're at a bar and they're just drinking more gasoline/oil.
So gasoline is the booze then in this
I don't know what it is. Apparently Cars, you know what? I don't know.
Okay, anyway, so they're at the bar drinking gasoline.
Yeah.
But then they don't cut to what happens afterwards.
They're like sipping on oil. The thing they're at war with, because
the reason they invaded Iraq.
They invaded car Iraq so they could get the oil for their car bodies. And you know what? There were never WMDs in they just wanted the oil.
They wanted the oil, yeah.
Because they couldn't get their own oil. Okay. Again, I'm insane, so I forgot what we were talking about.
We're talking about
move on.
Drunk driving. Are they drunk drivers in cars, or are they just people who are drunk?
They're just drunk. They're drunk.
Yeah.
Because there's no one driving the car.
That's true.
They're driving themselves.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, anyway.
Just like the planes flew themselves into...
Incredible.
I need you to finish the tab.
No, I love this.
I keep
everything about this is great. This is amazing.
Okay,
so many gold mines here. Anyway, he just takes the money and goes and he drinks, what did you say, gasoline and oil, and he's just having a good time. And of course, predictably, every time, like, all these businessmen were like, wait, what's going on? Like, I gave you whatever, like $1,000 6 months ago, and I haven't heard anything. And when they'd be like, can you send me some money back? He always had some bullshit answer like, oh, my suitcase of gold dust got stolen on the train. I need the copyrights to all the world's media. Or he's like, oh, you don't want the Chinese to get there first, do you? I have to be the one to do all of this. But eventually, he couldn't put them off for much longer. So, Death Valley Scotty did the noble thing, and he grabbed a pickaxe and got to work.
He did?
No, of course not. I'm lying. This is America.
Sorry, I'm believing you because I'm tired.
No, this is America. What did he have to do? He had to change the headlines and he had to control the narrative.
Of course, yeah. You bend reality to your will.
To your will. Yeah.
In America.
Something that the markets can respond to. So he decided to do something bold. Mm-hmm. And not only was he a horse boy, but he was also a train boy.
Beautiful.
And in 1905, Death Valley Scotty stands up and says, I'm going to break the cross-country train speed record on this choo-choo from Los Angeles to Chicago.
Oh, I bet it's faster than today. It takes 4 days to get to Chicago from California.
That's pretty long, yeah. So, again, no reason for him to do this, but he just decides to do it because he needs to distract everybody.
Insane.
And on July 9th...
I feel a kinship with this sort of disorganization. I feel a kinship where it's like, this dude could have it, but he's just doesn't have that last little
brain cell that he needs to become... Yeah. I mean, we're doing a tab about him like 100 years later, so he did something right.
Yeah, but we're also...
Unhinged?
No. We're also unhinged.
We're not... If we were con men, we wouldn't have a podcast. We'd be rich.
We'd have money.
Yeah.
Look, guys,
we're
if
like
you go subscribe to the Patreon, you're going to get money.
Yeah.
Nope. Not even convincing.
If you subscribe to the Patreon, we're going to use that money to mine more gold, and then you'll get a return. This is a joke, by the way, just for legal reasons.
Absolutely.
Do not do that.
We'll
you should subscribe to the Patreon, but you will not get money back.
No. Go on.
So on July 9th, Scotty leaves in the train called the Scott Special, consisting of an engine, a baggage car, a sleeper, and a dining car.
He named it... Okay, all right. I love this man.
It's all about branding. That's what you got to do. And on this train, the only passengers were Scotty, his wife, some other guy, and a writer for the LA Examiner. So he brings the press with him.
I want to see a movie of them just on the train.
That would be a good idea, actually. I'd like
Never
that.
going off the train. Just it's his little journey. And
someone gets murdered and they have to figure out who did it.
And a journalist just on this train.
Yeah, talking.
Were trains born in the Cars universe to serve the cars?
That's actually what I was thinking as I started to say train, because I was like, are there trains in the Cars universe?
There are, but they carry cars around, so is that there?
Oh, interesting. But inside of them, they're sort of like, what do they call them? The people who, why am I drawing a blank? When you're pregnant and like you have somebody else hold your baby. Why am I drawing a blank? All I'm thinking of is cars. Surrogate, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Are they sort of like surrogates, or like you're talking about they physically transfer the car from one location to another?
Yes. Just like semi-trucks. Lightning McQueen's always in the back of the semi-truck.
What is the human? There is no human equivalent of it.
No, it's the only human equivalent I can think of is slavery.
Of physically putting it, but not inside your own body, though.
We're not putting ours. No, I'm just saying, like, marginalizing other vehicles to be your servant class.
Oh, to be like the transferring ones. I see.
Yeah, like, can a train in the Cars universe get a job outside of transporting cars?
Interesting. Or anything. What if they don't want to transport? This is a good children's book, by the way. It's the train who wanted to leave the tracks in the Cars universe, but wasn't allowed to because of. It's not racism. What is it? Vehicleism.
That's the thing. It's like the closest to racism the Cars universe has, because it's like, no, you were born into a
You're
serving
subjugated
class.
by the cars. The cars are the top of the.
The cars are the top.
Interesting. Anyway,
this has been Kave's tab on the Cars universe.
We're gonna get through it. I promise.
They're on the train.
They're on the train. And the trip was completed in 44 hours and 54 minutes, breaking the previous record of just under 53 hours. He did it. You're shocked.
Well, yeah, because he can't even do that nowadays.
I don't know. It's only like 3 things that are on there. It's only like 3 or 4 cars. Nobody else had the foresight to do it.
He did it. Wow.
This, unsurprisingly, pushed him into the national spotlight.
Great.
Yeah. And he's got this journalist there the whole time, so it's verified. And he disembarks in Chicago, and now he's got the gold mine, and he's the choo-choo boss boy in a brand new city, even further away from Death Valley.
Choo-choo boss boy in town.
Yeah. So which city slicker will he choose to fund his totally legitimate and definitely real gold mining operation?
Oh, who? Do I know this person?
No.
Oh.
But you're going to learn about him.
Okay.
In Chicago, he meets a gentleman by the name of Albert Mussy Johnson. It's a very unfortunate middle name.
Just call me Mussy.
Mussy.
That right there is the mother's maiden name as a middle name for sure.
Okay. Now, Albert Johnson, or Aljo, as I like to call him. Aljo was the son of a very wealthy and very religious man who was also named Albert Johnson. And after graduating from Cornell, little Albert borrowed $40,000 from Big Albert to invest in a lead zinc mine in Missouri, which turned out to be a gold mine. Metaphorically, not literal.
Oh, I was like, they thought it was zinc and it turned out to be gold. That's awesome. I'm so gullible today.
I know.
You could tell me anything. And I'd be like, wow.
And suddenly he's bawling. He's made all this money and he calls up in his dad and he's like, it's time for the Al Johnson boys to head west and invest in a gold mine. I hear they're paying out like lead zinc mines.
Zinc out, gold in.
Zinc out, gold in. So in December 1899, they hop on a train. But tragically, on the Denver and Rio Grande line near Salida, Colorado, they got caught in a terrible train accident, killing Al's father as he slept.
Oh.
It's very sad.
Awful.
Yeah. Aljo Jr. himself suffered from a broken back, which took him almost a year and a half to recover from. But even then, he still walked with a bit of a limp for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's sad. Sad and fatherless, he returned to Chicago, and through some clever business moves and maneuvers and inheritance and whatever, he suddenly became president of National Life Insurance, and suddenly now he was balling even harder than he was before.
Wow, good for him.
But still, he longed for the mines.
We all do.
Yeah. When Aljo and Scotty became acquainted with one another, naturally, Albert Mussy Johnson became an investor in the imaginary Death Valley gold mine.
Here's where the kissing starts.
This is where the kissing starts. And just like the rest of the rich guys that Scotty was swindling, he starts coming up with all these tall tales of like, oh, my dog ate your ROI and I put it all into like NFTs or whatever. You have to sit and wait. And once again, all the business bros, they get flustered they're all trying to be like, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. But Mussy, he's different. Him and his Mussy. Albert and his Mussy are built differently from the rest.
Al Mussy.
Al Mussy. He's been through a lot, and he wasn't just content to cut his losses. He suspected something more nefarious going on, and he wanted to see the mines for himself.
Oh.
So Al and some other investors insisted that a guy named Daniel Owen, who was a respected Boston mining engineer, go with them to inspect the supposed property that definitely existed. Yeah.
So why didn't someone do this before? This
I
is
don't
like
know.
Smart.
Someone
should have done this.
Everyone's
Show
too
me
vain.
The mines.
Yeah, they're just like, nah, I can't. I'm outsourcing my work.
Gritty Chicago rich boy to do this.
And suddenly, Death Valley Scotty, he's like, oh, shit, okay, yeah, I guess. Definitely, we could do that, but I'm going to need to bring my crew with me. Totally, let's set the, we'll we'll take you over there. We're definitely doing this. It's definitely,
great.
And Scotty puts together a crew. It's two of his brothers, Bill and Warner, who he had moved out to Nevada for originally, and then a couple of other these like degenerates.
Hearts of gold.
So obviously, or lead zinc. Let's be clear here. In Al Johnson's word, hearts of lead zinc. That's the thing that's been profitable.
Poisonous.
So obviously there's no actual mine that he really owns. There's like a couple that he tries to like, he's like, maybe this mine might work. So he's scrambling, right, to figure it out. But eventually Death Valley Scotty and company come up with a plan. D.V. Scott's like, listen, these city folk, they're scared of everything, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, they're never going to finish the trek with the train and like on horseback through all the heat and dust and all that shit. They're just going to start crying and complaining of like needing like to wear Hoka shoes and like Erewhon smoothies. They're not going to make it. They're going to want Evian. Who knows? I
like the idea. And by I like the idea, I mean, maybe not like, but it's hilarious of Aljo just having to take a train out there again, just screaming the whole way.
Yeah. Traumatized. Like, oh!
Remembering that his
I kind of admire him that he's just like, no, I need to, he's like, I need to fix this.
Yeah. No, I know. He's the only smart one so far. Go on.
He is. But, Scotty's still like, look, even if that's the case, we can't leave it up to fate. We need to have like a pièce de résistance. We need to give them a show while they're out here. So remember, this is a guy who learned from literally Buffalo Bill, the greatest entertainer, arguably, like in the, basically made America, like made the Wild West what it was. So
and gave the rest of the world a look at what America, quote unquote, was like, you know.
Yeah. So in 1906, Scotty brings the city slickers out, and after being on the trail for a couple of days, he starts giving out instructions to his crew. And he tells his brothers, like, you guys stay behind a camp. And he tells a couple of other dudes, like, you go ahead and go look out for danger. And he's really hamming it up. Like, shit could go down at any moment. But this, of course, was all nonsense. He's just playing a part. They had never been jumped, but they were putting on some light dinner theater for the public transit-loving cucks of the city.
I would sign up for that in a heartbeat.
It's experiential. It's like an Airbnb experience.
It's a haunted train robbing experience.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
To go see a gold mine that you're definitely invested in. To go see a
gold mine that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That I know doesn't exist. But man, I'm there.
It's dinner theater. So as they approached the valley, they were suddenly, quote unquote, attacked.
No.
Yep.
What? Okay.
They got attacked in an incident that would be going on to known as the Battle of Wingate Pass. At first, they were really selling it, and everyone was freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god, they're whatever, like robbers." Like, and everyone's like doing their parts, and there's like stuff happening, and blah blah blah. But in the ensuing scuffle, Scotty's brother Warner gets shot in the groin.
So he accidentally gets shot in the groin?
Yeah. Actually, accidentally. Not like this was not part of the plan. Like Warner gets shot in the dick, just like Hans Moleman. It's like doink, like, with the football in the groin, but he gets like a bullet in the groin.
And he's like, oh, our little show went way different than I was planning.
So all of a sudden they stop and Scotty's like, you idiot, Warner, you got shot in the dick in the middle of my scam. I hate you. You always ruin my plans. And Warner's like, shut up, loser. You're not fooling anyone out here with all that Death Valley Scotty horse shit. You're still the same pants-pissing mama's boy you've always been.
As he's bleeding out of
his crotch.
Out of his crotch, just bleeding out.
It's this full-on sibling fight, and they have to break it up.
They start to like grapple with each other like kids would.
Mom always liked you more. And suddenly someone has to stop them. They're like, you guys, Warner's crotch is still bleeding, and we have to get this, like, we have to stop this and get him back to find a doctor so he doesn't die. They're like, fine. And the other one's like, fine. And then they have to just like leave and go back.
Dad was right. You were always going to be the one to get shot in the dick.
Exactly. Total failure. They somehow managed to sort of like still piece it off as like, oh, I don't know. But no, that was some other guy. And
Aljo is just like, wow, the West is crazy. Or was he seeing through it?
So Aljo, he's like, who the hell are these people? Is there even any mine? But he gets crazier. Smart. He's like, wait, no. What if there is a mine, and he's just trying to keep us from getting all that gold. He gets even more suspicious.
Oh, he goes full circle into believing it again.
Yeah, he's just like, anyway. So this incident leads to like a shitload of legal troubles for Death Valley Scotty, with various accusations being thrown around, like attempted murder, fraud, etc., so on and so forth. He gets like arrested and released. He sort of like goes back and forth. It's a whole thing. But Aljo, he doesn't let it go. He's locked in on this mine. He has that whole backstory that we talked about, and he needs to close this emotional loop in his brain, is what I think.
I get it.
He can't let it go.
Yeah.
So in 1909, he makes several trips back to Death Valley. And of course, Scotty's only got so much yarn he can spin. And he's coming up with every kind of bullshit story he can think of. He's like, aliens, Slenderman, trickle-down economics. I don't know. He sort of just keeps coming up with them. And eventually, he just runs out. Yeah. And the truth becomes glaringly obvious.
There's no mine.
There's no mine.
He met his match. Scotty met his match in that dude.
It's just a person who bothered to follow through. That's all it was.
Obsessively followed through.
But this is why I think the story is interesting. Something unexpected happens.
Okay.
First of all, the dry weather was apparently amazing for Albert and his mussy.
He could finally air out his mussy.
It needed some dryness, which is something you hear from people who have like asthma or whatever all the time, where they're like, when it's a little bit drier, it's much easier on their lungs. I'm not sure what specific predicament he had, but somehow the weather was like, he's like, oh, I can breathe. I feel much better. Like,
honestly, I'm the same. I think dry weather is way better, way easier to be in. Like when I moved to California, I was like, why am I breathing water? What is this? How come I'm breathing like droplets?
Moisture.
Anyway. Like nothing dries fully. Like if the thing's out of like I put a towel out, it's still wet the next day. What's that about? Anyway, go on.
Gotta ask the cars. Anyway, so his starts to feel better, his health. Every time he comes to California to try and see this, he's like, I kind of feel better every time I come out there. And then he goes back and he's like, so there becomes like this sort of weird loop. But not only that, he realizes that this whole thing has been a blast.
He's like, I love this, actually.
He's like, look, listen, sure. Scotty had swindled him out of thousands of dollars and was clearly an absolute con man, but he was funny as shit. And he had like amazing stories and he was really good at it. And whether or not he like intentionally meant to do this, Scotty had taken Albert and his mussy on the most exciting adventure of his adult life.
He healed him.
And in a twist of unimaginable fate, they become...
No way. Best friends?
BFFs!
This is the best meet cute I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember that day when you shot your brother in the dick?
Literally,
and I got obsessed with your non-existent mine. That is what I knew.
As you would know, as I like to say, I specifically wrote this in for the script for you, is like, they probably kissed, or at the very least, mashed mussies together.
Chips. Oh, yes, mashed mussies. Ew! Mashed mussies?
All right, here's my favorite picture of the two of them, which is like...
They're in love. I think this might be... Which one is the one sitting down?
Obviously the businessman. The guy that's standing.
Scotty's the one who looks like a mobster with a dumb hat.
I mean, frankly, they both look like mobsters with dumb hats. Just take your pick.
But Scotty looks like an absolute... Like, if I saw that guy in the street, I'd be like, I would never trust him. He looks like he's gonna like...
Scotty's the one standing with the tie tucked into his shirt.
I don't trust that dude.
Apparently he was a gifted storyteller, though. He was a great time. This is like straight up Odd Couple. It's hysterical. Okay, I'm sorry. I've never seen a photo of two best friends posing. You know what I mean? Like in a studio. They went to a photo studio and got a portrait of themselves as BFFs. I don't know, man. In like 1910, you know how hard that is?
Very hard. It's irresponsible to predict the past's sexualities and stuff, but like this is gay as hell. This is just like, I don't know. I'm sure they're, I can't just assume that. But
here's Scotty just chilling on a couch.
I ship them.
They are funny as shit. I think they're, I just love like the most unpredictable friendship that was ever formed.
Scotty and his, look at that face. Dude, first of all, that couch is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm still obsessed with this photo of the two of them because that was a whole thing to go out and get that taken.
Funny. Yeah. They're just like, me and the boys about to go out on a Friday night.
we're getting our photo taken. Because usually they have like families, mostly families or couples.
Me and the boys just about to go out. It's like a
this.
meme. It's going to get better too. So,
what?
It's going to get funnier. So they became total BFFs, like I said. So pretty soon, but of course, you know, even though you're shipping them, Aljo, he's married. And he has a wife, and his wife's name is Bessie.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just decided they were gay. It's not responsible of me, but yeah,
it's okay. They can be bisexual, whatever it is. Listen, we're not going to put labels on them. We don't know.
No.
Whether or not you guys want to run with it, that's totally fine. It's history. Doesn't matter.
They're cute.
I think that this is a great example of positive male friendships that are formed out of some sort of weird trauma.
Exactly. This is like Fellowship of the Ring level male.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually, it's kind of what it is. It feels very like weird, kind of Lord of the Ringsy. That's probably why I like it.
Non-toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Fully, like, I got your back, I'll carry you to Mount Doom.
Seeing him for who he was, that's the real thing. Is that, right? Aljo is just like, you're a total liar and you bullshit everyone, and I actually think that's really funny, and like, that's kind of a cool thing to be, and I accept you for who you are.
Hang out with you. No, this is like pure non-toxic masculinity right here, and I love it.
So here's Betsy. I'm sorry, Bessie.
Bessie and Bussy.
And this picture is really funny because it shows you.
I love her.
Shows you what she thinks of being out in the desert.
She hates it. That umbrella is massive.
It's gigantic.
This woman who's just like has like literally the biggest umbrella I've ever seen held above her in the desert. I feel that. Look at that.
He brings her out to Death Valley because he loves it, but also because if there's one thing I can tell you that wives love, it's going camping in the desert with just you and your alcoholic liar friend. That's what they're super into.
I really want them to fold her into this and make it a trio. Like a fun, like,
throuple.
BFF. More like a BFF trio.
It gets better. So predictably, she took one look at the barren landscape and was like, no, if you ever want me to come out here again, you're going to have to build me a proper house where I don't have to shit in a hole. Thanks. Goodbye. And sure enough, what does Aljo do? He keeps buying up all these plots of land, eventually amassing around 1,500 acres, and he would soon build his wife a house in Death Valley Ranch so grand it was almost a castle.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And so let's see. This is.
Give a photo of the castle.
Of course. So here's the plot of land as it's getting made. Don't read the bottom part of it yet.
Wow. Okay, it's like a compound. Kind of gives me Arrested Development vibes.
It's what is it called?
The model home.
The model home.
Yeah.
Here's a more contemporary picture. Here's a more recent picture of it, like from a couple years ago. Okay. So it almost looks like a giant mission or something. It's done in that old Spanish style.
Oh, that's really cool looking.
Yeah. Anyway, so as I said before, Aljo, he's like, I accept Scotty for who he is. It's fine. I know who he is.
Love it.
I know he's a liar, but he's a good time and it's great. So
your personality has to be absolutely incredible for people to just ignore the liar part.
Exactly. And what's more, this is my favorite part. So there's this castle being built in Death Valley. And Death Valley Scotty is just kind of like, starts going around town and he's like, listen, you know that big $2 million home that they're building up there? That's mine. I'm building it with the profits from my gold mine that I totally got.
He just kept going. He kept going? What? Okay, so he's trying to tell everyone that's his castle.
Yeah, right? And so all these reporters are like, I think pretty sure it's like Albert Mussey Johnson's like the guy who like bought all this land and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Aljo, let's call him Al Bro because he's bro as shit. Because all these reporters come up and they're like, hey, like, is this true? And Albert is sort of like, oh, yeah, totally. Like, this is Scotty's place. I'm just his banker. He's the brains. I'm just here to help him with those gold. Basically, he like folds him in.
Ride or die.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
That's the best. I love this. It is like The Odd Couple.
100%. Eventually, this place would go on to be known as Scotty's Castle.
So he built a house for his wife, and it was called Scotty's Castle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at him! This like old Technicolor-looking photo of Scotty just standing with his big, tall Arby's hat.
It's totally an Arby's hat.
Incredible. Okay, you guys got to go to the YouTube. They're all posing in front of it with some old what it looked like Model Ts. Scott's Castle, Death Valley.
So it turns into this whole thing that doesn't really matter in terms of it getting built. But they basically they more or less finish it. There's some parts, it's not completed in terms of what the original plans were. But there is a house, there's a castle, there's a home that's standing there. And there's a bunch of stuff on the inside. Here's my favorite photo of the whole thing is this picture. I'm going to give you what you were asking for earlier.
Oh, okay. So they're all inside. What is happening?
This is Albert Johnson. Oh, go ahead.
Albert Johnson sitting like Eisenhower on his bench.
Yep.
And his wife is over there on the couch.
Yep.
Wait, no. There's 3 huge chairs. They each have their own big leather seat. And what's his name? Scotty with his Arby's hat on his lap is just sitting there. They're just chilling.
Basically, what this picture shows is kind of what you were talking about, where you were like, I wish this was a real thing, which is basically like the Johnsons are hanging out at their house with their best friend, this like drunk alcoholic liar, and he's the third wheel. That's it. They literally built a castle and hung out in it. And that was like, that's
amazing. So they're in there as a couple. And then, like you said, their third wheel friend, who's a giant con man, just chilling. They're just,
hey, here's Scotty. And it gets better.
Love to be in that room.
It's sort of like, what was the thing that you had? The people who like lived outside and they were like the fake homeless people for the old timies. I forget what the era was. They pay the garden people. You were like, we were paid to be like a garden fake person, hermit. But it was like a con man hermit. He's like the con hermit.
Garden con man.
Garden con man. And Scotty's like, yep, this is totally my home. I built this with my gold mine profits. And they're just like, they loved it. They were just like, they had a good time.
And they were like, they were like, this Scotty's place.
Yeah,
they're like, we didn't do anything but lie.
They're like, we're so much more interesting than our friends back in Chicago.
They're back there with the beer riots, all that stuff
like,
going
have
on.
fun. No one cares. I got a cool liar that lives with me. I got a professional liar that's here.
Live-in liar.
Yeah, he knew Buffalo Bill. Do you know Buffalo Bill? No,
didn't think so.
So anyway, the Johnsons continued to vacation at their castle until 1943, when Bessie was tragically killed in a car accident. That's when she died. Oh. And after Bessie's death, a bereft Albert. It's easy to die in
a car accident when you're a car.
It's true. Bringing it full circle.
Yeah. That's sad.
After Bessie's death, Albert, he was really sad, so he stopped visiting Scotty's castle altogether, and he died of cancer in 1948, unfortunately. But I mean, they were a little bit older at this point.
That's the Johnsons, a while, though.
Yeah, they had no children, and they left their properties to the Gospel Foundation, which was a charitable organization that Albert had created in 1946.
Okay.
However, a stipulation was that their good friend, Death Valley Scotty could live at the castle and be cared for by the Gospel Foundation as long as he lived.
They're like, okay, we got this place, but we also have to take care of this dude.
He comes with it. He comes with the home.
He's furniture, pretty much.
He's literally contractually written into the trust.
Who is this guy? How did he manage this?
King. Absolute king.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Eventually, Scotty dies in 1954 and is buried on the hill overlooking his castle. So he's even buried there.
Wow. What happened to his wife?
That's a good question. I didn't even think to look into that. I got sidetracked by all of like the weird throuple-y part of them that I completely forgot.
She was like, I'm not needed here anymore. Bye.
I assume she passed away or left or something, because I don't think he's got his wife around when he's just like, I'm living with this other couple now.
No. Could you imagine the arguments? Here's the thing I love about this is that this could have only happened in California. It could have only happened in the West.
Yep.
This is a very unique story in that way.
I thought it was fantastic. Again, while not, like you said, it's what did you call it? Non-toxic masculinity of
non-toxic
bromance kind of thing. I just thought it was so funny that I've never heard of somebody, especially a rich person, who isn't like, I'm going to destroy you because you took my money. Like, we need more of Albert Johnson and his Mussy, who's just sort of like, I get why this is fun.
Yeah.
We need to subsidize this kind of stuff because like this is character.
Kind of a degenerate with you.
Yeah. It's good for him.
I want a TV show of this, like Always Sunny style.
Yeah, the three of them in the house.
Just garbage people. I want to know what the wife thought. Like, how did she get along with him? I'm sure she got along with him, right? She
Obviously,
had to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think she had a choice in terms of like kicking him out. It seemed like Albert was like, "This is happening. This is part
my
of our
friend. He's part of it."
This drunk liar I hung out with in the desert is moving in with us, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh man!
Apparently, they had the best of times.
So fun.
Anyway, that's my tab.
Thank you.
Thank you. What have you got for us?
Well, like you said earlier, since I'm choosing a letter from LGBT for each week of the month of Pride Month, June. Last week was L. This week is G. Gay.
Jeez.
So I am going to be telling the story of illustrator, author, and a member of the Dutch resistance, Willem Arondeus.
Oh, I don't know Willem Arondeus.
No, not many people do. So his story has only really been available since the 90s, because before then, his role in defying the Nazis and what he did for the resistance was kind of erased due to him being openly gay. You looking at pictures of him?
I'm just looking at, I was trying to see if I'd seen any of his art before.
It's very like Art Nouveau, like very twisty. You know how the Paris Metro looks?
Yeah.
It looked very much like that. And
It's cool.
It is cool, right? It's not too bad. Unfortunately, he did not find success with his art, but I'll get into that. So
okay,
he was born in, great, didn't write it down. Yes, I did. Okay. So he was born in I wrote 1984. No, I meant
1984. I'm older than this guy.
He went back in time. He was born in 1884 in Naarden in the Netherlands, but he was raised in Amsterdam. And his parents, I mean, from a young age, it was pretty obvious from what friends said and what he said in his own journals that he was pretty obviously gay. Like, couldn't, because there's some people who can mask it, some people just can't. And that's the worst one, because then you're a target. And so he came out officially when he was 17 to his family. Oh, yeah. So
wait, remind me again, what year was he born? You said it was 1884?
1884.
Damn.
Or maybe it was 1894. That's probably what it was.
Basically around the same time, though. This is like 100 plus years. This is coming out at 17. People weren't even doing that like 15 years ago, let alone like 100 years ago.
Well, here's the crazy thing. I didn't realize, but this was pretty normal for Amsterdam at the time.
Oh, really?
First of all, there had existed the Napoleonic law. What is it called? The Napoleonic Code.
I don't know.
Where every country he invaded, he decriminalized what happened between closed doors between couples, which meant the leftovers of the Napoleonic Code was that you could kind of do whatever you wanted in your own home with it, whoever. That's
interesting.
You wanted.
Why do you know why he did that?
I didn't look into it.
No, it's okay. I just was curious. It was like, that seems like a counter to what you hear about Napoleon, where he's just like, do what you want, I don't care.
But that's kind of how he was. He's like, when you were trying to be the new Julius Caesar or the new Alexander the Great, you got to let people do what they want, or else your empire won't work.
That's how. This is what we talked about last week on what was it called? I forget. Whack. With the whack. It was like, you need to have all the different organizations in your army that are just like, we're the lesbian section, we're the gay section. Just let them.
It's like, let people do what they want.
Let them do what they want, and your army will be more awesome for it.
Yeah, your empire will be strong. Turns out diversity.
Yeah, Napoleon got it.
Napoleon obviously. He
apparently understood it.
Little over his head and got exiled. But other than that, he understood what those old empires like the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire understood about expansion, is that you need to include everyone's cultures. You can't just like eliminate culture or religion. You got to freedom of. So that was a little bit like how it was in Amsterdam, or I keep saying Amsterdam, I mean the Netherlands, which they called Holland at the time.
Yes.
But at the time, the Netherlands were kind of weirdly like, you wouldn't be accepted. But you wouldn't be arrested and
totally you wouldn't
thrown in jail. It was like you could find pockets of community, which he did. He ended up having a partner for like 10 years. They lived together without much issue. They would get kicked out of different places every once in a while, and in his diaries, reading his diaries later, everyone was like, "Oh man, this guy was sad," because of course he was. His when he came out at 17, his family kicked him out, and he felt very rejected by his family. He started getting jobs as an illustrator and designer and muralist. So he was one of the things he painted was this big mural in Rotterdam that I think is still there. It's pretty cool. It's don't have a picture of it because I'm organized. And to paint the picture a little bit clearer, so in the 1930s, he starts...
real quick, by the way, you know who's in the Netherlands right now?
Well, who?
Is our friend John Perez.
Really?
Yeah, we should text him and just be like, see if you can find this mural.
You should, dude. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff in this that he can go find.
That's cool.
This dude is...
Sorry, I totally got... I was like, it's funny that you said that. Like, okay. I literally was texting him yesterday, and he's like, I'm in the Netherlands.
So Willem had a really hard time.
Hannah Willem. Sorry, I just stepped on like a part that's like clearly very sad, and I ruined it by making it a joke about your name.
Well, I don't think that the way I'm going to tell this is going to be more fun. I mean, the story is sad. Okay. It is. Trigger warning, World War II stuff, homophobia. But I love Willem. I love this man. And his story just didn't get told until recently, which is so sad, and I'm glad we're finally doing it. But where was I? Oh,
you were talking about how he wrote in his... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he was not making it as an artist. He had like severe imposter syndrome, really self-deprecating, was ashamed of the fact that he was gay. You know, I get that.
I'm like 2 out of 3. I'm just like, I don't see I was like, par for the course.
It's funny. Stephen Fry did a documentary on him. And he's like, he was kind of down on himself, wasn't he? And I was like, Stephen Fry, are you a true artist?
Yeah.
Like,
do you even like art?
Do you like yourself? No, I'm just kidding. That's fine. He does. But Willem had a really hard time with like self-confidence and you know, being confident as an artist. And so in 1935, he gave up illustration and instead became an author. And this is where he started finding success. He wrote like some popular biographies about other artists that did really well, and he illustrated them. And around the same time, you know, in Germany, the ideas of racial purity.
It's not ringing a bell. I don't. Can you be more specific?
1930s Germany, nothing happened. But it's funny. So before I get into this part, we like to think that the rise of the Nazis was sudden. Like, how could people not see this guy? Like, no. People saw it coming from a mile away. Like, Willem says in his diary, we have his words saying, this is how this is going to go. Here's what's going to happen. Yeah. Here's what I need to prepare for.
Yep.
So in the 30s, he was like, this is not going to end well. I can already tell. Yeah. And I think with a lot of times, marginalized people know that better than anyone else. They can see the writing on the wall way sooner. Yeah. He's already seen the, under the dark underbelly of how humans can treat other humans, Yeah. And so he saw the writing on the wall, and he thought, okay, I better start like getting ready for this. By 1940 or 1939, they invaded Poland. And by 1940, they had invaded the Netherlands, and the Netherlands ended up surrendering. So when they invaded the Netherlands, it was a kind of a different vibe. Like Poland, they were like, we're going to immediately take over everything. The Netherlands, Hitler had this interesting idea where he was like, you know what? I think I could convince everyone in the Netherlands that my idea of racial purity is correct. They seemed like they'd be on board with that. And so he kind of went like a softer approach to them, in that he was like, let's all...
Gentle not seeing, like gentle parenting.
We're going to gentle not see
We're having
you
big feelings right now about racial purity, but we're going to need to talk through it.
Yeah. And I know that you guys are going to end up listening to me.
You're going to end up listening to me, because otherwise I will murder all of you.
Kill all of you. Well, that's literally what happened, because he was like, let's just see how this goes. I bet they could be on our side. They're a lot like us. They like fit the bill. They look Aryan. He didn't realize that the Dutch were like, absolutely not. Yeah. There was one of the biggest riots and protests of the time that happened in Amsterdam, or was it Rotterdam? Millions of people came out.
They're like, oh, you think you invented the whole idea of like genetic and racial purity? Take a trip down south, buddy.
Go down to the Philippines, see what we did.
Yeah, go down to South Africa. You think you're the first people to try this? You can't step on our toes.
We're the widest. Yeah. No, but they were like, no, absolutely not. And they put up a big like fight. And that's when Hitler was like, fine, I'm going to bomb the hell out of you. And so you don't like my policy. It's like sometimes as like a white person, some other white person will say something to me that's like, and
you're like, oh no.
Uh-oh. And then they realize, this isn't the kind of white that I want to be talking to. Like, she's not down with making fun of...
She's not one of the right white people.
She's not one of the race... I don't know. Not one of the let's joke about racism. Anyway, so that's how I relate to the Netherlands. So is that I also don't think racial purity is a thing.
Yeah.
So
I don't see race or color. All I see is
all
podcasting.
white.
We're all cars.
We're all cars at the end of the day. So the Nazis invaded, and what was once this like really great place for queer people and artists started to become way more dangerous, because there had been these like areas of Amsterdam where there was gay bars and lesbian bars, and you could just openly hold hands with your girlfriend or hold hands with your boyfriend and be completely fine.
Own a castle with them if you really wanted to.
Own a castle, bring your beard with you. Drive your car body through the desert.
Get shot in the groin with your brother, whatever you want.
Look, it's not a true love story if you don't accidentally shoot your brother in the groin. The thing about the Dutch is that there were people who were Nazi sympathizers that were kind of waiting. They were like, can't wait till they come in here. We're going to show them that we're on their side.
Yeah.
But the majority were like, not into this. And also, about 25% of the Jewish people who lived in the Netherlands were refugees from Germany from the few years before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That was their kind of first stop that they tried to go out to.
Yes. That was their first stop. And when this happened, they were like, oh no.
Ooh, time to go again.
Yeah. They were like, okay, we're just gonna deport all of the illegal like people that don't have citizenship. Don't worry, other
Speaking
Jewish
of
people.
seeing, I'm like, every time we've been saying these things for years, as like you said, most minorities and under not served. What's the word you said? Underrepresented people kind of understand, but it's just the more
you see it on the wall.
Each day that passes, you're just sort of like. It's upsetting how much less abstract it was, and just being like, oh, there's 5 more steps. Like, this is where it's coming. And then now you're like, oh, no, that's literally the state we're in right now.
We can see it come. Like,
oh, it's not even, no, we're in it. We're here.
We're in it. It's
here.
So,
it's no longer like this is an abstract thing that will happen one day. It's like,
no, it's happening.
It's so weird to be in it now.
So you better choose which side you're on now. Okay, everybody. I'm sorry. This is the time. It's the time to you're going to become a Willem Arondeus, or you're going to become anyway. So they were like, yeah, we're just going to get rid of the refugee Jewish people, and don't worry, other Jewish people, you're fine.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're getting rid of the bad ones, the criminals,
bad ones, the ones who shouldn't be here.
Yeah, the ones who are criminals, who we decided that they're criminals, and that's why they're criminals and getting deported.
Yes, and Willem was in his diary was like, nope, this is just the beginning. Because he's seen what it's like to be a gay man in 1930s Europe. Like, it wasn't great. And he started becoming close to a bunch of other artists at the time, because at the time, a bunch of Jewish people who were also artists, everyone would mix. There was no like racial, like, there was no like, oh, you're Jewish, you can't be part of this. It's like they were all friends. Everyone was like friends, obviously. And so he started going into these artist circles, and the Nazis were also like, by the way, everybody, all you artists need to register with like the Nazi Cultural Center if you want to keep getting work as artists. And so Willem was like, I'm absolutely not doing that. I'm not going to register into your art registry, because the second I register somewhere, you have my information and it's easier to track. No way.
Listen, 100 years ago, people understood this. For some reason today, people don't understand this.
Nope. So
here's this fun thing that I did where I uploaded all the photographs of me as a child and compared it to who I am now. And like the last 10 pictures I have on my phone, I'm going to put that into an app. Where do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, guys, look, I've been guilty of it. I spit into a thing and send it to a DNA company that is now bankrupt.
Never did that. I was screaming about that from the beginning.
I know. It's just such a white privilege thing to do, to be like, yeah, sure, take it. Take my DNA. I'll never get,
I was screaming about that when it first. I was like,
you're right.
What do you? Why?
Oh, anyway, because this is what happens when you live in the bubble of like never being a
minority of any kind, of like
the minority,
oppressed minority.
You think you're invincible. So where was I? So Willem decides not to register with this artist registry.
Smart move. He rejected the user agreement,
and he then began to make this underground publication.
Yeah,
urging other artists to not register.
Absolutely love this guy.
Love him.
This is my jam. I'm like, this is the kind of people, you need more of these people.
Well, he found a bunch of friends. So he had been kind of lonely earlier. Like, he had been really struggling, really depressed, really lonely. And he started finding these friends at these gay bars and like cafes that he started feeling like a kinship with, a brotherhood with. One of them being a lesbian woman named Frieda Belinfante. And Frieda is an incredible person. I got most of this information from an interview she gave in the 90s. Because, I don't know if you've guessed already, but Willem does not make it through the war.
I didn't think so, no.
But Frieda did. So she had a ton of information about him. Her interviews are just incredible. I watched them all yesterday. She's just this... And she really described the queer community in Amsterdam in the 30s in a way that I can't. So I highly recommend going and looking at the transcript of that. It's really cool. But Frieda described Willem as very timid and shy. But then when they started doing resistance work, she watched him kind of become this powerhouse of like, no one should register with this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And Frieda had already been making fake IDs for Jewish people. And she was really good at it. And so when they met, she was like, I've already been doing this. Do you want to help? And he's like, absolutely. Yeah. I'm an artist. I can do this. And so they had a typographer friend. They had an architect friend. They had a composer. Frieda was a cellist and a conductor. And many of them were queer. And they all started meeting once a week and just churning out in like a methamphetamine induced, double all-nighter, just churning out ID cards. Because the one thing that was hard, this is why it was so important, because in Amsterdam, they had already registered all of the people who were Jewish. They had already registered everybody by religion years and years ago, in like a not bad way. And like, just register your religion, Catholic or whatever, which made it really easy for the Nazis to then be like, oh, cool,
like, great, thanks.
Jewish? Yeah, thanks. Yeah. You did all the work for us.
Yeah, we didn't have to work.
No, really, they were like, thank you.
Filter. It's like sort results by...
Jewish. And it really backfired on the Dutch because they were suddenly every Jewish person that lived there was registered and they knew who they were. They knew where they lived. And so it was really hard to escape from the Netherlands too. Yeah. Like the most famous person who hid from the Nazis in the Netherlands was Anne Frank. She was Dutch.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so if they wanted to escape, they had to have these like perfect ID cards or fake whatever. Yeah. And then they'd have to go into northern France and then into Switzerland or escape by sea to the UK. So that was extremely hard. So a lot of Jewish people just ended up hiding throughout the entire war. The Dutch underground resistance was incredible though, because they were like, oh yeah, we'll hide you. We got you. Like there was a story about the zoo, the Amsterdam Zoo. Apparently Jewish people were hiding above all the animal enclosures for years. And there's pictures of Nazis like pointing at the gorillas and laughing and going to the zoo.
Just having no idea
that above them were just dozens and dozens of hiding Jewish people. Anyway, so the Nazis had decided that, okay, all these are ID cards, we're going to stamp with a big J so we know who's Jewish. And they can't get work anymore. They can't run their own show, the whole thing.
Line, yeah.
And so Frieda was like, this is dumb. And this whole group of artists started being like, we're going to need to recreate these IDs without the J. Yeah. So they had to get the actual person's ID and strip the seal with their fingerprint off, separate it, and then reapply it to a new fake ID, which was like really painstaking. But Willem was really good at like fixing up the fingerprints and the little detail work, like using his artistic skills. They had a typographer who was, could mimic the type. They had a graphic designer. It was really cool. It was like this giant group of artists, queer artists. There came a point where the Nazis started noticing, because in the National Registry in Amsterdam, there was already all these records with the J. If someone was stopped and they didn't have a J on their ID, they could cross-reference it to the one in the National Registry and find out.
They'd have to like take it and physically go and like check it, and then like a week later come back.
But they were doing that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you this is a fake ID. You're going to the work camps, quote unquote." And so Frieda and Willem were like, "Bro, we got to do something about this because they're
break in and change those ones."
Oh, they didn't just do that. During one of their, meth fueled, I just love that they were like on methamphetamines, because that's so art school.
So were the Nazis. Everybody was on meth.
Everybody. But like, I just remember being like in school, being like, I have to pull an all-nighter. Who has some Adderall for me? And then I felt normal. That should have been the first clue that
you're just like, this might
I
be
have ADHD.
addressing a deeper issue here. It's not about
I
not
feel
sleeping.
Great. So there was one time when this group of people, Frieda says she couldn't remember who had the idea first, but they decided that they needed to destroy all the records kept in the registry.
Yeah.
So that there was no cross-examination of people. And they started this whole plan where they were going to break in and bomb the registry.
Yeah.
Yes. And they were also all pacifists. So they were just imagine this like
the discussion, the meth-fueled discussion about like the most ethical way to blow this thing up, and then having nobody be in there.
We don't want to kill anybody. It has to be very. So they did everything.
They're Nazis. Who cares? Just kill them all.
No, the registry was run by Dutch people who were being forced to comply.
Okay.
So, and
that's
one
fair.
of them, so they were like, we don't want to kill a Dutch person. We don't want to kill people who are there against their will. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So they,
yeah.
And just a bunch of like musicians and painters and poets and graphic designers just like being like, let's blow this place up. Just like, I just love it. I love it. So Willem was the leader of the group. And he was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dress as police officers. And here's how we're going to do it. This guy over here, whose name is Sjord Bakker, who's a tailor and a designer.
Sjord Bakker.
You are going to make us fake uniforms. And you're a tailor, and you know people who have like the patterns for it, and you know which fabric to use. And you're gonna make the uniforms for us, and we'll get you the supplies. And they had this. Everyone had a job. One person the job was to go get a map or like to go talk to one of the clerks in the registry to like get them on their side, or to like get certain maps of the building. The architect mapped out what the floor plan would look like, and they planned everything out. And everyone used their artistic ability to
Did they have like a podcaster in the group? Was there somebody where we're like, we need you to make inappropriate jokes about Cars 9/11 for like 45 minutes? That's an integral part of this plan.
They wouldn't let them in. They said, you're just going to talk too much.
Podcasters are the most oppressed of all artists.
Look, podcasting, the word when I'm like, I have a podcast.
I know. I literally say it and I want to throw up and die as I tell people.
Gross.
Half the time I forget to tell people because I'm like, please don't judge me.
Yeah, it's like, I know I'm not, everyone has one, but I also have one, but like I believe in mine, but also.
Ours is like a real one. We work really hard at it.
Also, we have like a career to back up our, anyway.
Sorry, so there's no podcasting in this group, unfortunately.
There's no podcasting, no.
Damn it!
I know. Look, next time. / this time. Okay, so Sjord Bakker. He was a designer, and he was also gay. So this was one of the 3 who had been out of the closet gay men who were working in this group. And he painstakingly created extremely accurate police uniforms, like fit to everybody. They looked great.
That's when they're suspicious. They're like, these fit a little too well.
These look great.
Look at how hot they are, these cops. They're hot cops. Right. Look at how hot they are.
Look how hot they are. So they had also teamed up with another group who had run their own underground paper called the Free Artist. And they had this really charismatic guy named Gerrit van der Veen. And he actually ended up being credited for all of this because they erased William, because the Dutch, decided not to include Willem in the end of this. But this guy was really interesting because he was very like a force. He could talk anybody into anything. He was like gung-ho on all of this. So they all kind of combined. There was a guy named Johan Brouwer who was this really eccentric ex-criminal who was a bank robber and then reformed into like an expert on Spanish history. And he hated Castro, and he went and volunteered to fight against Castro in the Spanish Civil War. Openly gay again. And this guy provided some of the weapons. So they didn't want to kill anybody. So they had empty guns, but they did have real guns. So on March 27th, they decide to do it. So they all go to it's like at midnight or something. And they go to the registry office, and there's 2 people working there. And they say, hey, we're the police, and we're here because there's been a bomb threat, and we need to check for explosives. Okay. So please leave the building. And they were like, oh, yeah, of course. And 2 doctors were in their team. So they had 2 young like medical students. One, I think both of them were Jewish. So like half of the people that were there were Jewish, and half of them were queer. It was just this amazing like group of absolutely marginalized people just being like, no, we're going to blow this. We're going to blow this up. And the doctors ended up drugging the two people that had been working there so that they just wouldn't be in the way. And they picked them up and put them outside in the courtyard, like away.
With like a blanket on top of them and like a little cup of soup next to them just in case.
They're like, you don't deserve this. So
sorry.
They go in there and they plant bombs all over the place. And they had figured out a way to do it so that it could be as destructive as possible and hopefully burn all these papers. And they're timed, so they are able to get away, and it blows up.
Nice.
And 800,000 ID cards are destroyed.
Whoa.
Yeah. Many of them Jewish, meaning at the end of the day, these people most likely saved thousands and thousands and thousands of Jewish people from being sent to camps. So Frieda in her interview was like, it was so successful because she was watching from a roof because they didn't allow the women in, and she was so pissed about that. She was like,
why didn't
do this? Just the times, like, no, don't, Anyway, her, and there was a few other like women, but yeah, she watched from the roof and she said it was successful and it destroyed a lot.
Spectacular.
Yeah, and so everybody then ran away into hiding, and Frieda said that no one really saw each other for the next like week or so. Mm-hmm. And usually she met up with one of the people in the group named Rudy, who was like her right-hand man. And when she got to the place they were supposed to meet, he didn't show up, which was her cue that something had gone wrong and that she needed to flee and not go home. And that was the last time she saw any of them.
Oh, shit.
Because she disguised herself as a man and started living with one of her students to like hide. But they immediately, maybe like a week later, they found Willem at his house. Mm-hmm. And
they meaning like the Nazis had found
Nazis.
him? Okay.
Yeah. So they had been betrayed, but they don't really know who did it because in the end, they had a lot of people who knew about it because they needed all these resources. Yeah. And so like slowly they were like, okay, we're bringing more people into this. This is not going to end well.
Yeah.
But Willem, it was interesting because at one point Frieda said that she and Willem, they were like BFFs working on these cards together. One night he was like, do you think we're going to make it through this war? Or she said, do you think we're going to make it through this war? And he said, no. She said, me neither. And he said, does that bother you? And she said, no. And he said, me neither. So he had found this like
purpose.
He had poured his whole self into this, and he was like fully ready. So when they did find him, the Dutch police with some Gestapo as well came to his house, and he stood up calmly and they said, in the name of Hitler, we are arresting you. And he said, in the name of the Queen of Holland, I'm coming with you then, or something along those lines. And then he said to the Dutch policeman, I hope your family's going to be cursed for generations because of your betrayal.
Nice.
Yeah, like, you're Dutch. You shouldn't be doing this to me. And they took him, and he was in prison for a few months, along with 8 other men who
that
also
were part of the crew.
Yeah. So, and he was in jail, and his lawyer, who was this woman named Laura Mazarel, who is incredible. She was like this early gay rights activist. She fought on behalf of Jewish people, gay people, and Romani. So she was like very progressive. So of course she's like, I'll be your lawyer.
Yeah.
In the show trial they gave them. So she had a lot of contact with him while he was in prison. But Willem handled it beautifully. And he apparently was like the source of all the strength for the prisoners while they were imprisoned. And he just amazing man, held everybody together. At the show trial, it was fully a show trial. They stood no chance. They wanted to make an example of them, saying, look at these degenerates. They're gay and Jewish.
Yeah.
And this is what happens to...
Further spiraling their case. Yep. And just being like, if you allow gay Jews in here, this is what they're all going to do.
Yeah. They're all going to...
Get rid of all the gay Jews,
look at this, you know how we see it now where it's like somebody protests and they're like, wow, destruction. It's not a way to protest. Do peaceful protest. It's like, no, blow up the registry office.
Yeah.
And, don't. Maybe. But no, so they wanted to make sure everyone knew that not only like other gay and Jewish people don't do this because you will die, but also people who were not gay or Jewish to be like, look at these degenerates.
Be suspicious of these people if you know any.
Be suspicious.
Yeah.
And on July 1st, all 9 of the men were executed by firing squad. Oof. So Willem's last words were, let it be known that homosexuals are not cowards. And I just the reason. Sorry, I'm getting tearing up. A lot of people are like, don't make this about them being gay, but him being gay had everything to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And his last thing he wanted people to know is a don't discount us.
Yeah.
I'll do everything I can to fight for, marginalized. And Sjord Bakker, the guy who made the uniforms, insisted on being killed while wearing a pink shirt. Because that was the color that they put on the badges of soap.
Yeah.
And again, all of these queer people who were killed to the very end said, no, let everyone know we're gay.
Yeah.
Let them know we're not cowards.
No pleading, no
pleading.
No trying to like get out of it in any way.
Stood strong. Willem knew he was probably going to die and he was fine with it. He had done what he wanted to do his whole life. Like, his journals are really cool. Like, I got to read a little bit of his diaries, but you can see the change in him as the years go by, where it's just like he had so much self-doubt. He hated himself. He was worried about what everybody thought. And as the war progressed, the more he just got more and more like, no, I know exactly what to fight for. I know what's right. I know who to help. And I'm not going to back down. And I'll do whatever it takes, which I think is really, really cool. And for 50 years, no one knew his story because after the war, anti-queer sentiment grew like crazy. Like in the 50s and 60s, there was like the lavender scare. And, we talked about other episodes where, on the last episode, where like they would experiment on them. And many of these gay soldiers and people who were like helpful to the war just got erased. So Willem, his name wasn't even on it as the leader of the group until Frieda gave an interview in the 90s and was like, no, he led the whole thing because Frieda escaped. And her escape is absolutely bonkers, dude. She dressed as a man. She went to northern France and then Switzerland and waited out the war. And then when she went back to Amsterdam, it was still super homophobic. And she was like, screw this. I'm going to Orange County. So
Classic. The birth of oh God.
Oh, she didn't love it there.
Christian fascism starts in Orange County.
Yeah, she ended up moving to New Mexico, I think, later, and just becoming a music teacher. But she, there's so many podcasts and books about her, which is why I'm not focusing on her. Okay. But there's some really good ones. She escaped by hiking by herself through the Alps in the winter.
Nice.
Anyway, so Willem, his journals were are really incredible because you can see this person.
She kept them, or like how did they get them?
I don't know how they got them, but I don't know if they haven't all been translated unless I'm not looking in the right place. I found certain like excerpts from them. But I think they must have just found them. I don't know. No, maybe she kept them. I don't know. I got to look into that. But I love Willem. I love that he saw the writing on the wall and he made a choice in the beginning to,
do something about it.
And even just a small group of like struggling artists can forge thousands of ID cards if they wanted to.
Listen, we're not saying that anyone should do this because we will get arrested if we say that, but you and your artist friends are capable of doing something much more than what the society as it looks like right now tells you that you're capable of doing, because these are skills that translate into things that can be life-saving.
Yes.
If you are in the right position to be able to do so. So just remember that in the back of your minds.
Just in case. Yeah. That we're not just, we're cartoonists, but I don't know.
Also, if you don't have any artist friends, you should have some. It's always good to have a typographer or graphic designer.
Also, for someone to be like, by the way, things are going downhill.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure. I mean, we're going to say, in fairness to us, we're always saying that all the time anyway. It's like at the beginning of this, before we started recording, I was like, how are you doing? And you're like, I don't want to die anymore. And I'm like, are you sure you're feeling okay? Because that doesn't sound like a normal Hannah Hillam thing. But
yeah, that doesn't. Usually I'm like, I want to die. But
yeah, I was like, when you want to die is normal, but when you don't want to die is what I'm worried about.
What's wrong with you? Who got to you?
But yes, people who have their antennas up in a way that you might not normally be exposed to and paying attention to things.
But there's this great documentary that I couldn't watch because it's only available in Britain, called Frieda and Willem. And I watched some clips from it. It seems really good. It's by Stephen Fry. So if you guys have access to it, watch it. I think it's probably really good. I think you can get it on Amazon Prime, but you've got to pay extra or something for the BBC or something.
I wonder if you can VPN or something.
Oh, true. Anyway, I just wanted to just, finish by saying, be like Willem Arondeus in the way you see the world and how to make it better. And queer people have always been here, so that's the
conviction.
Other thing. Yeah. I really, really love him. He's kind of one of my personal heroes now.
Nice.
Because a lot of his journals were like, oh, I suck at art. I hate myself. And I'm like, oh, I've been there.
Yeah, he would have loved my Instagram.
He would have loved my Instagram. Anyway, that's my tab.
That's awesome. Beautiful.
Sorry it wasn't as happy as the others, but I think we do need to tell these stories.
100%.
You know?
Don't apologize. Salute.
Salute to Willem. Anyway.
Thank you for that. That was wonderful. And now, unfortunately, for the tone of our tab, we have to change to something super goofy.
So dumb. Should we have someone getting shot in the dick?
Yes, we should have someone getting shot in the groin.
We should shoot our tabs in the groin.
This is why our audience comes here, is to get devastating story about a gay man being executed by the Nazis after doing something heroic, but also getting shot in the dick.
But you know
we contain multitudes.
I think Willem would like how we did this.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think that they were all pretty funny people too.
Okay.
I don't want to just like be like, and look how sad. It's like, whatever.
They're like, shot in the dick. Ah!
I'm sure it was like, if they were like counterculture artists like people are now, then I'm sure they had a sense of humor.
Listen, I will say this too from family members of my own who had to escape from certain horrific areas, is that one of the main lessons I've learned is they're like, no, the humor is actually the most important thing that keeps you sane.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps you going in a way. It normalizes it, not normalizing in a way of you're normalizing bad behavior. It's like it gives you a sense of control over like, well, this is a ridiculous situation that we're in now.
Right. Anyway. it's almost funny. It has to be funny or else I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Crushed under the weight of this.
Anyway, and with that, let's shoot a couple of dicks. You want to count us down?
Yeah, I'll shoot these tabs right in the groin. 3, 2, 1. There it goes. Just Goodbye. Bleeding out in the middle of Nevada.
It reminds me of that RoboCop thing I sent you that one time.
I watched that again recently because it was an open tab. Absolutely unhinged. I'm obsessed with it.
It's one of the funniest things ever.
Okay.
Listener emails. First email is from Kaya from Istanbul.
Hey.
Wonderful city. Love Istanbul. Had a great time
Never been.
It's fantastic. You should go if you can.
I want to.
My name is Kaya, and I write from someplace far away, in parentheses, Istanbul, because Kaya gets the reference.
They wrote, I love that. Wait, also...
I'm sorry, it's also hi, Kava and Hannah and Alyssa, by the way.
Yeah.
So Kaya did address Alyssa. Thank you. I'm a longtime listener and first-time caller. My open tab is regarding mummy-eating phenomenon. So in the Western Hemisphere, people only know the British upper class as mummy eaters, but where the mummies were buried, local people also used to partake in the mummy. Such as Selçuk emperors, mummy eaters, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Let's hope.
In Turkey, there are burial grounds of rulers of Selçuk Empire, and until the Republican era, these sites were not classified as cultural heritage sites. During Selçuk's rule in Anatolia, Middle East, and modern-day Iran between 1037 to 1194, some emperors and Turkic dynasty members following the collapse of the empire were mummified and buried in catacombs in Anatolia. After centuries and after the collapse of the empire, these grounds lost their significance and were mostly forgotten. People found these mummies that were often consumed in a ritualistic stance in belief that it will help them in reproductive fertility or basically as aphrodisiacs.
Great.
Funny enough, because there's nothing that gets me harder than slamming down some
ash
mummy
or some
toe.
Mummy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not giving me the toe.
Mummy toe. Funny enough, the contemporary Turkish media reported this issue as they used Melikgazi's corpse as hanky-panky drug.
As a hanky-panky drug?
Melikgazi was a Danishmendid ruler, and his remains were reburied in contemporary Turkey due to, quote, mummies being anti-Islamic. But after the mummy eating issue came to the surface, the state digged up these remains for inspection in the 2000s. So anyway, sorry for my broken English. See you at the Dickie Nixie's Soviet pool party. Stay Josie, Kaya.
Thank you, Kaya. I love it.
Thank you, Kaya.
I love the sentence or the phrase, "Sorry for my broken English. See you at the Dickie Nixie Soviet pool party." Like though that across all languages can be said. That's fascinating. I didn't know that other people also ate the mummies. I thought it was just a bunch of Victorian British people.
You white people don't have the corner on this market, all right? Other people can eat mummies too.
That's all we had. Okay.
That was cool. Kaya, I hope to, maybe we can all hang out in Istanbul one day. You've never been. You gotta go. It's a beautiful city. Beautiful city.
I know. It's like also the crossroads of like every major historical era on Earth.
I had this crazy experience when I went there, which I'll share with you, which is, you know how like Europe is not religious and like Christian, but it kind of is. So like all this, it is informed how the cities are. With all the churches and like all that kind of stuff. It's like, imagine that, but for Islam. So it's very, it feels Western in the way that it's constructed, but then it also has these under roots of like whatever, all these like Muslim influences and stuff. It's really cool. It is because it is the bridge between the East and West of like, being between Asia and Europe.
I mean, it used to be Constantinople after it was conquered by Europeans. So there's going to be that weird mesh,
the cross section, and I don't know how you always say it. I always say it the wrong, but the Hagia Sophia, the Hagia, people say Hagia Sophia, the Hagia Sophia.
I know, Hagia Sophia. I never said it out loud.
That place is
Did you see
one of
it?
it's I straight up was like,
that's like
this is one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen. It's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in my entire life, and I don't say that lightly. It was incredible seeing that place.
That's one of my top places I want to see.
It's incredible.
Wow, you get to see it. I want to go.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I was a huge fan. Someday. And my scarf, the scarf I always wear, like the same 3 that I always wear. I got those in Istanbul like 15 years ago or something, and I just still wear them all the time. They're great.
Still hold up.
Anyway, it's a great spot to visit.
I gotta go. I gotta go sometime. All right.
Right now, before the next. But you should read the tab. Now? You should read the email before you go.
Good idea. I'm gonna go and then read the email. Okay, I'm back. Yep. Okay, so this is from Katie from Chicago/Minnesota.
All right.
Hi, Kaveh and Hannah. My name is Katie, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. I loved musical splaining, but somehow had no idea this podcast existed until I spoke to Kaveh and artist Ali at this past C2E2.
All right.
I was also there.
Were you?
No.
I'm not sure about that. I don't remember.
There is just a blank spot next to you.
Yeah.
Since then, I've been binging episodes while at work. While I live in Chicago now, I was born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota. You both being big Charles Schulz fans probably know that where he was born, where his career got started, and that his experiences there heavily influenced the Peanuts comic strip.
Mm-hmm.
But did you know about the statues of the various Peanuts characters all over the city? This is an article from the main St. Paul newspaper diving into the question. For the TLDR, for 5 years in the 2000s, fiberglass statues of the Peanuts characters, sponsored by various businesses, appeared all over the city. These businesses collaborated with local artists to customize them. I.e., the local theater, the Ordway, had a Snoopy in a top hat and tail suit. A candy shop had Lucy dressed up as a candy seller. Each year has a different character. Snoopy, Charlie Brown, Lucy, Linus, and Snoopy in Woodstock on the doghouse. And at the end of every summer, they'd be auctioned off to charities, businesses, and private collectors. This was a government-sponsored project, and the funds were used to fund art scholarships and the building of more permanent Peanut statues in a park in downtown St. Paul. A lot of these statues are still around, and people have scavenger hunts to try to find them.
Yeah.
I have a small personal tie here. My elementary school won some sort of contest or drawing or something, so a statue of Snoopy dressed as an astronaut was placed in my school's Peace Garden for my 5th and 6th year. Yeah. If y'all ever do a Comic-Con in the Twin Cities area, I would love to hear of trips to go see the various Peanut statues and or a call to listeners to send in their pictures they take if they visit the area. I tried to make this email short. Hopefully it worked. Katie.
That's phenomenal. I think we should have people send us pictures if they do. If they do get a chance to go see those statues.
Visited Sebastopol, where he ended up living later.
Yeah, and I've been there too, to the Charles Schulz Museum.
Sebastopol, has a bunch of Snoopy sculptures all over the town. Similar ones.
Did you ever finish reading? I'm not putting you on the spot, but did you ever finish reading the book?
It is sitting on my side table. I read a chapter a month.
Listen, eventually you'll get it done in like 600 years.
600 years, book. Yeah. It's good. I really, even just the first few chapters, I'm like, I feel like I know this guy.
It's devastating. It's beautiful.
Oh, he's really sad. He's a really sad person.
Yeah.
Was a really sad person. But again, a lot of
also stubborn.
Very, yeah. Also
amazing. We love anything Schultz related.
Yeah.
Always a good time.
Thank you. If you guys want to submit your own listener mail, please do at 500opentabs@gmail.com, 500. You can also submit voice memos around 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, and if you want to follow the podcast, we are on Patreon. Please go and help us out if you can. Otherwise, you can subscribe to the YouTube. You can review the show. If you know somebody that's been shot in the dick, send them this episode.
It might help. Honestly.
It might help if they're recovering from a dick shooting incident. This might be something good for them to listen to. If you know a con man, if you know somebody with a castle in the desert, if you know somebody who loves horses or trains, send this to them.
Yeah, if you know a liar, send this. If you know cars, send this to your car.
Listen, get in the debate about whether or not, what did you say? That like are trains subjugated to cars in the in the Cars universe?
Naturally subjugated to cars.
Yeah.
As a servant class.
Continue this conversation on our Discord, which is very exciting, very engaged. I can't wait till they hear this.
They've been talking about this already.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. I did hear that. This started from that specifically.
Oh, no. I've drawn comics about this.
About the cars. Wow. Way to just undermine the contribution of our Patreon,
no, Discord is
of our Discord
amazing.
People. Thanks a lot.
Discord's fun. Well, look, it's just that everyone who watches Cars has these issues. No one can suspend their disbelief. Nobody. Is there flesh inside? Are they born? Or are they made? Anyway, let's as you go to sleep tonight, just picture what Lightning McQueen's insides look like. And if you had to drive him, would you have to squeeze in there with his brain, or would there be like a seat?
Maybe you should post whatever comics you made about this on our Instagram. We are 500 Open Tabs. We are also on Blue Sky, although I never post on there because nothing matters. Anyway, I'm at PermaFriends on Instagram, and I'm Kaveh Taherian on Blue Sky. What about you?
And I'm Hannah Hillam.
In the meantime, we nothing's happening immediately, but anyway, we'll be back next week with LGB. Next week will be bees.
With the Boeing sexuals.
I'm looking forward to hearing about your Boeing sexual tab. And whatever the hell else crap I pull out of my ass in the meantime. Hopefully it'll be something that's worthwhile.
Good luck. This one today was incredible.
Yeah, I'm going to need all the luck I can get. Thank you guys.
For that castle to be a setting for Kumatab. So
we can go visit the castle at one point. I think it was like there was some water damage or something at some point. I don't know if it's reopened, but
we need to do a train trip together.
There are so many places that we can go see.
I just want to get on a train and be dumb for a week and go to all these places.
Maybe. If you'd like to see us do that, sign up for the Patreon. Yeah, and subscribe. Okay. Send this to other people. Anyway, thank you guys. We'll see you at Nikki Dixie's Soviet pool party.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, or while you're on the Gwen Stefani tribute toilet, that's the next pool party.
How about this? I will FaceTime you from the Gwen Stefani tribute toilet while you're at the Dickie Nixie Soviet tribute party pool party tribute toilet.